Alright guys, Brett Miller back with you from Metal Guitar Academy. And this lesson today is about diatonic and whatever the heck that means. Diatonic is a word that a lot of guitar players have seen, or they've read it, or maybe they even throw it around a little bit, but often don't quite have the right idea about what it means. So we're going to be discussing that today, so hopefully at the end of this you have a better understanding of what the term diatonic means, and more importantly, why it's important to your playing, okay, to be able to understand what diatonic means. So first of all, there's kind of a misconception, often diatonic. It sounds so much like, for example, pentatonic, right? And pentatonic means 5-tone. So if we're playing something like this, right? Classic 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, kind of a scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. That's a pentatonic scale, and what that means is 5 tones. So oftentimes people will assume that diatonic means something like, you know, a 12-tone scale, right? That doesn't really have that meaning in music, okay? What it really refers to, the easiest way to think about this, would be defining it thusly. So diatonic, that's how you spell it, really means, okay, a good way to think about it, of or from a scale. Now, the quick and dirty explanation of what a scale is, of course, okay, scale is simply a pattern of whole steps and half steps. Whole steps being 2 frets on the guitar moving up a string, half steps being 1 fret. So for example, if I had a minor scale, every minor scale in the world, and I talk about this all the time, okay, repetition is very important, but any minor scale goes whole, half, whole, whole, half, whole, whole. So I could randomly start anywhere. I don't even care where I'm putting my finger down. If I follow that pattern, sounds minor to you because of that whole and half step pattern. Okay? Start on A sharp, right, B sharp, C sharp, etc. But it doesn't really matter what the notes are. It's more that sound, that distance that you're hearing there. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to take a very simple minor scale. Simple in the sense that it's not going to have any sharps or flats. Okay, it's always better to kind of keep it simple like that when you're learning a new concept. So if I had this A, I'm just following this pattern here. So that's an A minor scale. So diatonic simply means if I did anything in the context of a song or a lick or a improvisation, whatever, anything that only used those notes, combinations of those particular 7 notes, we'd say that what I was playing is diatonic to the key of A minor. Because again, another very important, simple yet oft misunderstood term. Key simply means scale. It's just that simple. So if I'm playing something using the above notes, I'm playing in the key of A minor, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. In fact, when you go to a jam track, all right, when you go to on YouTube, let's say a jam track, and you search something like you know, A minor jam track, what's happening is everything you hear in that jam track is essentially just using that set of 7 notes. So I don't care if it's the chords that you're hearing, the bass line, notes in the bass line, notes in guitar solo stuff, licks, whatever, okay? It's simply all this big matrix of those 7 notes, A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. So that's what it's called being in the key of, and so those notes would be considered diatonic. That's really all that, that term means. So how is this useful to playing guitar? Well, if you're trying to especially make up licks or exercises to practice, right? And we're going to stick to A minor. If I want to do a lick like this, technique practice, let's say. Kind of a little neoclassical, whether it's going to be legato or whether you're picking it, okay? It's one thing to stay in place here, but it's quite another thing to start moving around, right? That gets a little more difficult. So diatonic, that term, that concept rather, is going to help you know where to put your fingers. Okay? This would not really sound too good if I did something like this. That just sounds random. Okay, if someone was trying to do that, yeah, you might get a little bit of practice with your fingers, but you're not putting it together in a coherent manner. That would not sound too good if you're trying to put that lick into a solo. Okay, so since we determined that diatonic simply means of or from the scale, if we can simply take that lick and make sure that we're only choosing notes from the A minor scale, that lick is going to sound a lot more coherent. It's going to sound a lot more musical, for lack of a better term. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, if we simply find those notes, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, on this string that I was playing on, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then back to A, and we can write that down here. So what we would have here would be on the high E string, and back to A. So A, B, okay. Notice the lick that I was doing was this, just taking the first kind of 3 of them in a group, A, B, C, and my lick was like that, kind of feeling it in like a 3 count. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You can pick this, you can make it legato, whatever you want to do. Okay. Now, what if we want to move? Okay. Well, what we're then going to do is go, okay, that lick was comprised of these 3 notes. Let's move to the second note of the scale, the B, and now let's do these 3 notes. B, C, D, or 7, 8, 10. So now if we play that, what was moving up to the next note on the scale of the B, B, C, D. This is why it's so important to know the actual notes that we're dealing with here, the diatonic notes. Because now I will do the same lick both together. Now it sounds like something, right? Sounds kind of coherent. If we kept going, right, remember we had tabbed that out a moment ago. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. It's a little road map. We're just going to follow that up the fretboard. Now if I go to the C, the 8th fret, 3rd note, what are the 3 notes? C, D, E, right? I'm not playing a D flat. I'm not going E flat. Those would not be in the scale. Remember, diatonic means of or from the scale. And so we're just going to be sticking to those notes. So this tells me now, okay, I can continue that lick. If I just keep going, D, E, F, E, F, G, F, G, A, G, A, B, and then back to A. You want to think of that like a road map. Your fingers aren't going to go anywhere else if your intention is to truly stay within that key. Okay? So essentially that way of thinking about this, only sticking to the notes in that scale, would allow you to add other strings, right? If we did maybe another little kind of sequency sort of a pattern here. Let's say I wanted to add in the B string. Actually, I'm going to skip over. I'm going to do a little jump. I'm going to go. Hard lick. So I won't turn this into a practice session. I'll do it slow. Moving up, I know to put my fingers on the B, the C, the D, 7, 8, 10. Now where do we go down here? G string. That's an F. That works. That's in our scale. That's an E. That works. I would not want to do this. E flat. That's not on the scale. F, E, D. Those are in the scale, in the key of A minor. So together, very important so that you can really just stay in control. It's all about having control here. Moving up. What do we do on the G string? Well, do we do that F sharp? No. F, yes. G, yes. E. Especially legato, very shreddy kind of. Harder to do the picking, obviously. Okay, keeping it going. What notes do we do on the G string? I don't know. Do we do this? No, because that is an A flat. What we want is the A. A, G, F sharp? No, F. So, we'll continue to do that until we finish going as high as we wanted to. So, the completed thing would sound like, okay, again, staying diatonic, which is what this is about. Diatonic simply meaning staying within the scale, okay, the notes in the scale, the key, in this case A minor, right? Completed idea would be this, and this is how you can take something that might seem kind of complicated and actually have it be like a roadmap for you. Okay? Why do I know to put my fingers there? Remember, because that's a C, a D, and an E. I don't want to go here. That's an E flat, not on the scale. So, moving up, D, B, C. Those are in the scale. Where do we go down here? F, B, and E. So we know where those fingers go without just having to guess or read something out of a book. E, C, D, G, E, F. Okay. F. Where do we go now? Uh-oh, A flat, nope, A. That's in the scale, A, G, F. That's harder to pick. Okay? Neither here nor there, though. It's not a speed lesson here today. Okay? G, F, E. B, A, G. Not getting lost going, oh geez, is it that? Nope. Keeping track of the notes in the scale. Okay? Here we have C, A, B. Almost to the top. D, B, C. All very simple if we just think about the notes in the scale. And finally, oops, see, I screwed that up. C, A, B, C. So, complete the thing would sound like this. I'll do it kind of slow. Got lost. Oops. And finally, okay. So wouldn't have to just be that stock kind of a lick, right? If I'm playing diatonically, if I'm just kind of improvising over, say, a track, which I'm not going to put on right now. Some of those types of licks, see, I was stretching a lot there, you know, it's not the right approach mentally. To think of something like that in the framework of, oh, what's the big giant finger pattern that I'm in? Okay, that's a big misconception. I talk about that quite a bit. Different things that you're doing on the guitar, your musical intentions, okay, are going to require you to think oftentimes in a certain kind of framework. One framework does not fit everything. Okay, if I've got a big fingerings all over the neck there. If I did a lick where I was playing before, okay, it's pretty dumb to think about, well, hey, I'm playing one note here and one note here for about a quarter of a second. Where does that somehow fall in this big gigantic finger pattern? We don't want to do that. Again, I think that's a misconception that can be frustrating for a lot of players, because you don't have to be a computer and somehow just have this photographic memory. Some people probably do. I certainly don't. So if you're doing within a big pattern, jamming something like that, yeah, it makes sense for me to think about what's my big giant because the licks are conducive to that big pattern. Okay, so I'm not knocking patterns. They're very important, but they're not going to help you when it comes to doing these types of, again, sort of a simple sequence, but in that case, I'm sort of thinking of a little bit of a in-between kind of a pattern. I'm not thinking just solely notes. but I'm not thinking big shapes either. Okay, so we want to have the right tool for the job, just as if you were repairing something. So anyway, that's what diatonic is. I'm sure that's one more thing. Okay, diatonic also will help you to understand why certain chords go together. Now, it's a little bit beyond the scope of this. However, just kind of a quick and dirty example. Again, if we're talking about a jam track that you bring up on YouTube, let's say you bring up an A minor jam track, and there's certain chords to it. Okay. Something like that, right? You could hear that maybe on one of those elevated jam track. Whatever, right? Yeah, most guitar players are going to think of that like a block chord. A minor, G major, whatever. The reality is, though, if you looked at every single note in all of those chords, I'm not going to get into building chords right now, it's beyond the scope of this. But the fact is, if you looked at every single note in every single one of those chords, you will not find a single note that I played there that would not be in this set of notes right here, okay, in this A minor scale. So this has a lot to do with chords as well, quite frankly. So that's what diatonic is, okay? And if we think that way, it just can make a lot of things more understandable as to why they fit together, okay? Because you just kind of have this, I think, this big grab bag or this big pool of notes, okay, that you can choose from. Whether it's going to be the chords, okay, or whether, again, it's going to be the licks. It's all coherent because we're taking it from the same scale. So, okay, that's it. So if anybody's been watching this and you have any questions, I'll stay on for a minute just in case. But in the meantime, I'll just play. Hopefully, if you're typing something in, I can see you. I don't know if I've been having a little trouble today with the chat box here, but well, maybe we'll put on a little jam track while I'm waiting here. That might be kind of fun. Let's do that. I always do like to give credit to this this elevated jam track guy. Because he's very good. So I like to append the term elevated to this. And let's try this. Gonna have to sit through a commercial maybe.
If you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I'll turn that down. Skip. All right, cool. So I'm gonna play this, and I'm gonna actually be kind of intentionally not using your standard just big patterns, okay? So I'll play kind of, and I'm only thinking about that pool of notes, A minor. Oh, that's why that sucks. That's not in the scale. Okay. That's a C sharp. Wanted that C there. Right? That too. So I'm really not thinking about sort of these stock those are cool too. I'm not knocking those. I'm not like anti-pattern at all. That was some arpeggio patterns, right? So these are important to know. But we don't want to be locked into those. I'm thinking more notes there, diatonically. Some of that tapping stuff, right? Again, I'm not some machine computing how all these patterns fit in. No, I'm thinking, hey, I'm going to do this set of notes over here. Maybe I add, you know, the notes in the A minor scale up here. That's how I tend to think with these things. Those notes are all diatonic. It can be kind of freeing. Now, do you have to know your notes on the fretboard? Yes, you do, and that's a topic for maybe another lesson coming up here, but I'm extremely, extremely gung-ho about that with my students, and there's just no way around it. I couldn't be doing these things. There's no magical pattern that's going to make that work. It's because I know the notes on the fretboard. Okay, so there's no way around that. So the idea is to try and make some note finding practice fun, and again, maybe we'll do that in a different lesson. Okay, that's it. So hopefully that's beneficial to you, and I'm planning on streaming a lesson 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. That's my plan. Probably same thing after I practice for a while. So stay tuned. Subscribe to this channel, especially on Twitch. If you're on Twitch, I'm trying to get up to 50 subscribers so that we can activate the subscription button. So actually, I guess it's what follow on Twitch. Get up to 50 followers. Okay, so if you like this, you want to see some more, make sure you give me a follow on the Twitch, and so I can unlock that subscribe button. Okay. All right, guitar students, we will see you next time.